Let's be honest, no one cares about your excuses. No one cares how unfair life has been to you. No one cares how hard your childhood was. No one cares if your boss passed you over for a promotion, if your wife left you, or if you feel lost. Because the world doesn't stop moving. Right now you have two choices. Sit around complaining, waiting for someone to feel sorry for you, or get up, take control, and build the life you want. But here's what stops most men. They think they need someone to rescue them, validate them, or tell them they're good enough. This is a lie. The strongest men in history, the ones who built empires, shaped philosophy, and overcame the impossible, never waited. They mastered their emotions. They relied on themselves. They built inner resilience. And you can do the same. In this video, with 8 Stoic principles that will make you unshakable, you'll learn how to develop a Stoic mindset, build mental toughness, and achieve emotional resilience. By the end, you won't just feel inspired, you'll have a roadmap to true personal freedom. If you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video with them, and tell me in the comments, what's one excuse you're done making today? Let's build strength together. Let's begin. 1. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to fix your life, hand you success, or carry you to the finish line. The longer you wait for a break, for recognition, for someone to finally see your worth, the further you drift from the life you could have built. Right now, you have everything you need to change your situation. But most men don't act, they wait. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect conditions, the perfect support system. Maybe when I get that promotion, maybe when my family understands me more, maybe when I catch a lucky break. But that moment never comes, because the world doesn't stop for you. It keeps moving. And if you don't move with it, you'll be left behind. A man lost at sea clutches a paddle in his hands, staring at the horizon, waiting for a rescue boat that will never come. The shore is within reach, but he refuses to row. He waits for the waves to carry him, for someone to appear and save him from his own inaction. But the ocean doesn't care. It drifts him further into nothingness. This is how most people live, holding the tools they need to change, but refusing to use them. I knew a man who owned a restaurant for 10 years. It was his life's work. Then the economy crashed. Customers vanished. Bills piled up. His business collapsed. He spent 2 years blaming everything. The recession, the government, bad luck. He was drowning, waiting for a lifeline, convinced someone would step in and fix it. But no one came. Then one day, something shifted. He stopped complaining. He took responsibility. He rebranded, rebuilt, and adapted. Today, his business is stronger than ever, but only because he decided to stop waiting. Not everyone makes that choice. Another man I knew, 45 years old, got blindsided by divorce. His wife left and his world crumbled. Instead of moving forward, he spiraled. He drank, he blamed, he replayed the same story of betrayal over and over again. He told himself life was unfair, that he was a victim of circumstances beyond his control. And so he stayed stuck. Years passed, nothing changed. He became angrier, more bitter, locked in a loop of his own making. No one came to help him, because no one ever does. There comes a moment in every man's life when he faces a choice: stay where he is or take control. Not choosing is a choice. Waiting is a decision. If you choose to remain passive, to blame, to sit in your pain and wait for someone to rescue you, you are choosing failure. If you choose to take ownership, stop waiting, and start rowing, you are choosing freedom. You are not powerless. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Your circumstances do not define you. Your response does. What you do next determines everything. The first step is taking full responsibility. That means no more blaming, no more excuses, no more waiting for the world to give you what you haven't worked for. If something is wrong in your life, own it. The second step is action. It doesn't have to be huge, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be something. A single decision, a single step forward is enough to break the pattern. The third step is self-reliance. Stop expecting someone else to fix what is yours to repair. No one is responsible for your happiness, your success, or your peace of mind. You are. If you don't like where you are, move. If you're stuck, push forward. If you feel lost, start somewhere. It doesn't matter if you're tired, if you've failed before, if life has been unfair. You have the paddle in your hands. You can row or you can drift. But the choice is, and always has been, yours. 2. True freedom is mastering yourself, not avoiding others. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in a tiny prison cell. 4 walls, a hard cot, a life stripped of comfort and freedom. Yet when he walked out, he was not broken. He was not bitter. He did not let his captors define him. Why? Because long before they released him, he had already freed himself. Locked away, he had no control over his surroundings, but he had full control over his mind. He read, reflected, and strengthened his resolve. His body was confined, but his spirit was untouchable. He understood something most men never do. True freedom is not about escaping the world. It's about mastering yourself. Many men confuse independence with isolation. They think freedom means cutting ties, walking away, and shutting the world out. But running is not freedom. It's fear in disguise. The strongest men in history didn't retreat from the world. They mastered themselves so completely that no one could control them. Imagine a man who leaves society behind, moves to the mountains and disconnects from everything. He thinks he's free. But then, a thought creeps in. What are they saying about me? Do they miss me? Did I make the right choice? And just like that, he is a prisoner again. Because true freedom is not about physical distance. It's about emotional independence. How many men live trapped, not in cells, but in their own minds? They wake up controlled by fear, doubt, by the opinions of others. They shape their decisions not around what they believe, but around what will gain them approval. They are not free. They are slaves to validation. Look around. How many people are hooked on social media, chasing likes and measuring their worth by others' opinions? They can leave their cities, quit their jobs, cut off toxic people, but they still live in chains. Why? Because the shackles are not external, they are in the mind. A Stoic does not let the world dictate his emotions. He does not let rejection shake his confidence. He does not let someone's insult ruin his peace. He does not need to isolate himself to feel whole, because his power comes from within. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he faced betrayal, war, and suffering. Did he run? Did he shut himself away? No. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Real freedom starts here. You must train yourself to stand in any storm and remain untouched, to walk into any room and remain unshaken, to be surrounded by chaos and yet calm inside. This is mastery. This is strength. So how do you build this kind of freedom? First, detach from the need for approval. Stop chasing validation. Stop looking over your shoulder, waiting for someone to tell you that you're doing the right thing. Make peace with the fact that some people will misunderstand you. That's their burden, not yours. Second, control your emotions instead of letting them control you. When anger rises, pause. When fear creeps in, breathe. When doubt tries to pull you under, stand firm. Master your emotions, and no one can use them against you. Third, embrace solitude without fearing it. Spend time alone, not to escape the world, but to strengthen yourself. If you can sit in silence without distractions and feel at peace, you are already ahead of most men. Finally, understand that no one can give you freedom but yourself. No amount of money, no perfect relationship, and no external success will ever make you feel complete. Because freedom is not something you find, it's something you build inside of you. So the question is, are you free? Or are you still waiting for the world to grant you permission to live on your own terms? 3. Stop seeking approval. If you live for people's acceptance, you will die from their rejection. For years, my brother lived under the weight of our father's expectations. He was pushed into finance, a stable career, a respected field. But he hated it. Every morning, he dragged himself to a job that drained him, that suffocated him. For 30 years, he worked in a world that wasn't his. Why? Because he feared disappointing others, because he thought approval equaled success. But approval is a prison. The moment he stopped chasing it, the moment he said enough, he found freedom. He started his own business. He built something for himself. And for the first time in his life, he was alive. How many of us are still trapped? We shape our choices around what others will think. We hide our opinions. We suppress our true ambitions. We seek validation like beggars, measuring our worth by how others react. But here's the truth. The more you seek approval, the more powerless you become. Look at social media. People spend hours curating their lives, chasing likes, and reading comments as if their self-worth depends on it. If a post does well, they feel valuable. If it doesn't, they feel invisible. Do you see the trap? You think you're in control, but in reality, you are being controlled. Controlled by the fear of rejection, by the opinions of strangers, by a system designed to keep you seeking, never satisfied. The Stoics understood this long ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Why do we care so much? Because from childhood, we are conditioned to seek validation. Good grades mean approval. Following the rules means acceptance. But what happens when you wake up one day and realize you are living a life designed to please everyone but yourself? Most people never escape. They stay in careers they hate, relationships that suffocate them, lifestyles they didn't choose. All because they fear what will happen if they stop playing along. But what if you let go? What if you stopped explaining yourself? Stopped waiting for permission? Stopped fearing the opinions of people who don't even think about you at night? What if, for the first time, you lived on your terms? Think of the greatest men in history. Did they seek approval? Did Socrates hold back his beliefs because people might disagree? Did Marcus Aurelius rule Rome while worrying about his critics? Did Seneca hesitate in fear of what the Senate thought? No. They stood firm. They spoke boldly. They acted with conviction. And in doing so, they became unshakable. You can do the same. But first, you must break free from the addiction to approval. Start small. The next time you have an opinion, say it, without softening your words, without looking around for nods of agreement. The next time you want to do something different, do it, without explaining yourself, without asking for validation. Pay attention to how uncomfortable it feels at first. That discomfort, it's growth. And here's what happens when you keep doing it. One day you'll realize that you no longer care. That rejection no longer stings. That disapproval no longer holds power over you. And that's when you'll know you are finally free. 4. Master your emotions. Master your life. Have you ever lost your temper and regretted it? Have you let someone's words get under your skin, ruining your entire day? Have you ever come home after a stressful day, only to snap at your wife or kids over something small? At that moment, you were not in control. Think about it. If your emotions dictate your actions, then you are a puppet and the world is pulling the strings. A stranger cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly you're raging inside your car. Your boss overlooks you for a promotion, and you let it poison your motivation for weeks. Your wife is in a bad mood, and instead of maintaining your peace, you absorb her energy and react. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If someone else can control your emotions, they control you. That is not strength. That is a weakness. Real power is not found in physical strength or wealth. Real power is found in control. A man who cannot master his emotions is a man who will always be at the mercy of others. He will always be reactive, always be manipulated, and always be a victim of external forces. Look at the world today. How many men live their lives angry, frustrated, and anxious? Not because of their own choices, but because of how others treat them. They walk around like loaded guns, ready to explode at the slightest provocation. They believe their reactions are justified and that their emotions are valid reasons for their actions. But the truth is, they are slaves to their impulses. A Stoic is not. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and faced wars, betrayals, and unimaginable stress, yet he remained composed. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He understood that a man who controls himself is a man who can never be controlled by others. Most men are like a ship in a storm, thrown around by every wave, every emotion, every reaction. But a Stoic, he is the anchor, unshaken, immovable, steady in the chaos. This is not about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. It's about ensuring that your emotions serve you rather than enslave you. So how do you take back control? First, learn to pause. When something triggers you, stop. Just 5 seconds, a deep breath, a moment of clarity. That small gap between stimulus and response is where your power is found. Most men react instantly, blindly. They feel anger and immediately lash out. They feel insulted and immediately retaliate. They feel frustrated and immediately complain. But the man who pauses takes back control. Second, detach from your emotions. Most men make the mistake of believing that emotions are commands. They feel something, so they must act on it. But emotions are just signals. You do not have to obey them. Anger flares up, observe it, but do not act on it. Frustration builds, recognize it, but do not let it consume you. A Stoic does not react emotionally, he acts rationally with discipline. Third, choose what deserves your energy. Most things in life are not worth a reaction. The rude driver who cuts you off, not worth your peace. The coworker who gossips about you, not worth your focus. The inconvenience that ruins your day, not worth your strength. Every time you react, you are giving away your power. You are letting someone else dictate how you feel, how you think, and how you act. A Stoic understands this. He guards his energy, he chooses where to direct his focus. So ask yourself, who owns you? Does your wife's bad mood dictate your state of mind? Do rude strangers have the ability to make you angry? Does your boss's approval define your motivation? Or do you own yourself? Because the man who can be provoked, the man who can be manipulated by his emotions is weak. But the man who remains calm, composed, and in control, that is the man who is truly free. 5. Happiness is a byproduct, not a goal. The more you chase happiness, the more it escapes you. It's like water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips through your fingers. You tell yourself, I'll be happy when I make more money, when I find the right partner, when I achieve my dreams. But when you reach those milestones, something strange happens. The excitement fades, the emptiness returns, and suddenly there's another goal, another craving, another reason why happiness still feels out of reach. Happiness is not a destination, it is a byproduct. A mother doesn't find happiness by searching for it. She experiences it in the quiet moments of raising her child, in the first cry, the first steps, the first words. A starving man doesn't wait for a perfect life. His happiness is found in a single meal, in the relief of hunger finally satisfied. A warrior does not expect happiness as a reward. He finds it in the discipline, in the battle, in the purpose of his struggle. Yet society teaches the opposite. It tells you that happiness is something to pursue, something external, something to be earned. The world convinces you that happiness exists somewhere out there, always in the next promotion, the next relationship, the next purchase. And so people chase, they run, they grind themselves into exhaustion, believing that fulfillment is waiting just beyond the horizon. But what happens when they get there? The man who finally lands his dream job, still restless. The one who buys the mansion, the sports car, the luxury lifestyle, still unsatisfied. The entrepreneur who builds an empire, still searching. I once worked under a CEO who had everything: power, wealth, influence. He owned a beautiful home, drove the finest cars, and traveled anywhere he pleased. From the outside, he was the definition of success. But inside, he was drowning. He lived in stress, consumed by pressure, constantly looking for the next deal, the next achievement, the next way to prove himself. One day, he turned to meditation and philosophy, desperate for peace. He had gained the world, but he had never learned to master himself. Because happiness does not come from achievement, it comes from stability. The Stoics understood this long ago. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Marcus Aurelius echoed the same truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. If your happiness depends on what comes next, you will never have happiness. So how do you break free? First, stop making happiness a goal. Happiness is not a checklist item. It is not a prize at the end of the road. It is a byproduct of living well. Focus on discipline. Focus on purpose. Focus on what gives meaning, not just temporary pleasure, but deep fulfillment. Second, embrace the journey. Stop treating life as a waiting room for happiness. The beauty is in the process, in the struggle, in the moments most people overlook. What if your hardships are not roadblocks, but refining fires, burning away what no longer serves you? What if every challenge, every setback, every moment of discomfort is shaping you into someone stronger? Third, define happiness for yourself. The world will try to tell you what happiness should look like: money, status, approval. But happiness is not one size fits all. For one man, happiness is raising a family. For another, it's the pursuit of wisdom. For someone else, it's simply being at peace with himself. Do not accept society's definition. Forge your own. There is no final destination, no moment where everything is perfect, no point where you arrive at happiness and stay there forever. Life will always bring challenges. People will disappoint you. Plans will change. But if your peace is built on something deeper, on discipline, on mastery, on an unshakable mindset, then you will not need to chase happiness, because it will already be with you. 6. Respect is never asked for. A man walks into a room and says, "You need to respect me." The moment those words leave his mouth, he has already lost. Respect is never requested. It is never begged for. It is never demanded. It is earned through action, through presence, through undeniable value. Think of a weak leader, the kind of man who steps into a position of power and immediately says, "You must respect my authority." But behind closed doors, his team laughs at him, ignores his commands, and follows only out of obligation, not admiration. Because words mean nothing, actions mean everything. A true leader does not demand respect, he commands it, not through force, not through intimidation, but through his actions, his discipline, and his results. This is true everywhere, in business, in relationships, in life. A man who carries himself with confidence does not need to ask for respect. A man who controls his emotions, disciplines his mind, and leads by example does not need validation. He becomes the kind of person others naturally look up to. But most men get it wrong. They think respect is something that can be forced, something that comes from their job title, wealth, or position of power. But here's the truth. You can be a CEO, a boss, a husband, or a father, and still be ignored, ridiculed, or disrespected if you do not embody the qualities that make a man worthy of respect. Look around. How many men complain that people don't take them seriously, that their colleagues overlook them, that their families don't listen? They believe the problem lies outside themselves, but it doesn't. A Stoic understands this. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He commanded armies. Yet he never had to demand respect. He earned it through his wisdom, his patience, and his leadership in action. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." This is the essence of respect. It is never about status, it is about character. So how do you become a man who commands respect without asking for it? First, lead by example. Never tell people to work harder. Show them what hard work looks like. Never tell people to be disciplined. Be the first to wake up, the first to act, the first to endure. A man who leads by example doesn't need to convince others to follow. They follow because his actions speak louder than any words. Second, master your emotions. A man who loses his temper easily loses respect instantly. Imagine a boss who yells at his employees, a father who reacts with rage, a husband who lashes out when challenged. Do you think they are respected? No. They are feared at best and ignored at worst. True respect comes from calm control, from composure, from knowing when to act and when to be silent. A man who can remain unshaken in the face of chaos is a man that people look up to. Third, becomes irreplaceable. A man who holds real value never has to ask for respect. The best warrior on the battlefield does not demand recognition. His skill makes him impossible to ignore. The man who brings wisdom, discipline, and solutions to every problem is naturally respected. Fourth, stop chasing validation. The more you beg for approval, the less you get it. People can sense desperation. They can feel when a man is trying too hard, when he needs their recognition to feel valuable. But the man who moves with certainty, who doesn't need external validation, that is the man who commands respect. I once worked under two different managers. One constantly demanded respect. He would remind us of his title, his authority, his experience. But when things got difficult, he crumbled. His decisions were weak. His leadership was hollow, and no one took him seriously. The other, he never had to ask for respect. He worked harder than everyone else. He remained calm under pressure. He never needed to remind anyone of his authority because his presence alone demanded it. Respect is not about words. It is not about asking. It is not about hoping people recognize your worth. Respect is about becoming a man that people cannot ignore. So ask yourself, Are you the kind of man people respect because they have to or because they want to? Because a man who begs for respect is weak. A man who embodies it, he is unstoppable. 7. Pain is the ultimate teacher. A blacksmith takes raw metal and throws it into the fire. The heat is intense, melting away impurities and softening the metal. Then he hammers it, again and again, pounding it into shape. The strikes are violent and relentless. But without them, the metal remains weak, fragile, and useless. Pain works the same way. I knew a man who lost everything. His business collapsed, his wife walked out, and his health deteriorated. He spent months drowning in self-pity, convinced that life had beaten him. He blamed the economy, his bad luck, and even the people closest to him. He looked for an escape, drinking, distractions, anything to numb the pain. But pain doesn't go away when you ignore it. It waits, it lingers, and the more you run, the more power it has over you. Then, one day, something shifted. He stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started asking, "What can I learn from this?" He stopped blaming the world. He stopped waiting for a way out. Instead, he faced the pain, learned from it, and let it shape him. And that was when he became stronger. Because pain is not the enemy. Pain is the teacher. Most men fear pain. They avoid struggle. They try to numb themselves with distractions, alcohol, entertainment, meaningless pleasures. They do everything except face the things that can make them stronger. But pain is not your punishment. Pain is your forge. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome in times of war, plague, and betrayal. He suffered, yet he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He understood that every hardship is an opportunity for growth. Epictetus was born a slave. He had no control over his early life. He was beaten, abused, forced to serve others. But instead of breaking under the weight of his suffering, he became one of the greatest Stoic philosophers in history. He learned that pain is not what destroys a man. It is how he responds to it that defines him. Think about your own life. The moments that shaped you the most were not the easy ones. They were the times you were tested, broken, and forced to rebuild. Pain does not destroy you, it reveals you. A warrior does not complain when he is wounded. He does not see pain as unfair. He sees it as fuel. Every hardship, every failure, every heartbreak is a chance to become more resilient. But here's where most men go wrong. They let pain define them, rather than refine them. They hold on to their suffering, replaying it in their minds like a broken record. They let failure turn into bitterness, let heartbreak turn into fear, and let setbacks turn into excuses. But pain has two choices. It can either break you or it can forge you. So how do you turn pain into power? First, stop seeing pain as the enemy. It is not here to destroy you. It is here to refine you. Every struggle contains a lesson. Find it. Second, embrace discomfort. Growth does not come from comfort. Muscles are built by tearing and repairing. Strength is built by struggle and endurance. The more you lean into discomfort, the stronger you become. Third, take control of your response. You may not control what happens to you, but you control what you do next. You can sit in your pain, complain about how unfair life is, or you can use it as fuel. Fourth, remember that you are not alone. Every great man in history suffered. Every warrior, every philosopher, every leader, they all faced pain, and they all used it to their advantage. Pain is life's way of testing you, sharpening you, and preparing you for something greater. If you resist it, you stay weak. If you embrace it, you become unstoppable. So the next time life strikes you down, remember, you are in the forge. The fire is hot and the hammer is heavy, but when the blows stop, you will not be weaker. You will be unbreakable. 8. You are already complete. You just haven't realized it yet. Why do you always feel like something is missing? You tell yourself that once you find the right partner, land the perfect job, make more money, or get in the best shape of your life, you'll finally feel complete. You believe that the next thing, the next relationship, the next house, the next achievement will bring you peace. But what happens when you get it? The excitement fades, the void remains. You feel an emptiness that you can't explain. And once again, you're chasing something new, something bigger, something that will finally make you whole. This is the lie that keeps men running in circles. A man I once knew spent his entire life chasing more. He built a business, made 6 figures, and had every material possession he once dreamed of. Yet, he was never satisfied. Every success left him feeling just as restless as before. He worked himself into exhaustion, believing that achievement would fill the void. He jumped from relationship to relationship, convinced that the right woman would finally make him feel whole. But none of it worked, because fulfillment does not come from external success. You are already complete. You just haven't realized it yet. The world conditions you to believe that your worth is based on external validation, money, status, relationships. It convinces you that you are never enough until you achieve more, own more, or become more. But this is the greatest illusion of all. Marcus Aurelius, the ruler of the Roman Empire, had everything: power, wealth, and influence. Yet he wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Even the most powerful man in the world understood this truth. Your fulfillment does not come from what you have. It comes from who you are. Yet most men live their lives chasing ghosts. They tell themselves, once I get that promotion, I'll be happy. Once I find the perfect woman, I'll feel complete. Once I have enough money, I'll finally be at peace. But it never happens. No external thing can give you what you already have inside. Think about it. The man who seeks validation through relationships becomes needy and dependent. The man who believes money will bring peace becomes a slave to his earnings. The man who ties his worth to status becomes lost the moment he loses recognition. The Stoics understood this truth. They knew that a man who is truly free needs nothing. He does not seek approval. He does not beg for recognition. He does not believe that external success defines his value. So how do you step into this power? First, stop looking outside for fulfillment. Everything you're searching for, confidence, strength, peace, already exists within you. You don't need a relationship to feel worthy. You don't need wealth to feel powerful. You don't need validation to feel important. The world tells you otherwise because it profits from your insecurity. It wants you to believe you need more, so you will keep buying, keep chasing, keep running. But the moment you stop, the moment you realize that nothing external will complete you, that is when you step into your true power. Second, detach from the illusion of more. Understand this: you will never have enough if you believe you are lacking. A man who feels incomplete will never be satisfied, no matter how much money he makes, how many women desire him, or how much status he gains. His thirst will never be quenched. But the moment you realize that nothing is missing, that you are already whole, the chase ends. You become untouchable. Third, live with presence, not expectation. Most men suffer not because they lack things, but because they believe they should be further ahead. They compare themselves to others. They obsess over where they think they should be, rather than embracing where they are. Stop waiting for a future moment to feel complete. Live now. The moment you detach from external validation, from the endless chase of more, you become a man that nothing can shake. A man who owns himself does not beg the world to complete him. A man who masters his mind does not chase empty desires. A man who realizes his own strength does not seek permission to be powerful. So the question is, when will you stop searching for what was inside you all along? Everything you've been searching for, strength, confidence, peace, it was never out there. It was always within you. The world teaches you to chase validation, to seek approval, to believe that you are incomplete without success, relationships, or recognition. But the truth is, you already have everything you need. You just haven't learned to trust it yet. Mastering yourself is the path to true freedom. No one is coming to save you. No amount of wealth or external success will give you peace. No relationship will make you whole if you do not first become whole within yourself. The strongest men, the wisest leaders, the most resilient warriors, they do not ask the world to complete them. They own their minds, control their emotions, and stand firm in who they are. So the real question is, how will you use this lesson? Will you continue searching for something outside of yourself? Or will you start building from within? The first step is awareness. Recognize the illusions that have kept you running in circles. The second step is action. Choose discipline over comfort. Choose self-mastery over dependence. Choose to lead rather than wait for permission. Now, I want to hear from you. What lesson from today's video resonated with you the most? Have you ever had a moment where you realized everything you were chasing was already inside you? Share your story in the comments below. Let's build a mindset of strength together.